Morning, everybody. Welcome back to CommOCEAN 2020. I hope you found yesterday's session inspiring. Just a quick reminder from me before I hand you over to Timon for this session. The interactive online exhibition is on the CommOCEAN website, and the link will be posted on the chat here, and you can pose questions and rate the activities on the board. We also had a session yesterday where we discussed what goes into making excellent marine science communication, and that interactive pinboard is also still live. But it's not on the website, so a link will be added to the chat as well. Please do keep adding your comments to both of these boards throughout the conference, and keep your questions coming for all of our speakers via the chat and our interactive sessions as well. I really hope you enjoy the final day. Over to you, Timon.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm happy to say that we have the first session is Baltic oriented, and since actually I'm sitting some 100 meters from the Baltic beach, so it's even extra exciting for me. We have two plenary speakers today. The first one will be Maija Sirola, who is the communications manager of the Bonus project, and Maija is responsible for planning and implementing communications and dissemination strategy. And the second person is Angela Schultz-Zehden. I'm sorry if I misspelled the name. And Angela is a managing director in the SUBMARINER network based in Berlin. We decided to have the two talks one after another, and then keep time for the discussions after the talk. So I would like Maija to start at this point, and 15 minutes. The online floor is yours, Maija.
Thank you very much, Timon. I will now share my screen, and we can start then here. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Very good. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of CommOCEAN on my behalf as well.
Sorry, we're seeing the wrong screen.
Sorry?
We are seeing the wrong screen.
Oh, okay, right. Could you make it?
You are seeing the wrong
presentation
screen.
mode.
Yep, we are seeing the presenter view.
Okay.
Not the presentation mode. Yes.
I will have to stop and do it again then.
That's okay.
From beginning. Okay. So, is it now showing the right mode?
It does.
Yes.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Phew. These technical challenges, and I thought I was doing so well. Okay, again, let's try. So I was saying good morning, everyone, on my behalf as well. I'm so grateful to be here talking today because I'm a devoted CommOCEAN fan. I've been to all three CommOCEANs before this, first in Porto, then in Bruges, Southampton, and now online. So these are really great, and big thank you to those who are organizing these and making this wonderful sharing and discovery journey possible for us all. So today, in this opening session, we focus on the Baltic Sea and different communications perspectives from this region. And parallel to most of my talk, which I prepared and will present in a minute, I want to share with you a few wider public engagement products produced by bonus-funded projects. In particular, you will see some wonderful imagery from me and my Baltic Coast photo competition, which was organized by Bonus Baltic Coast project. So to start, I would like to say that protecting, managing and sustaining the future of the Baltic Sea and all seas and oceans need wise policies, which must be based on sound scientific knowledge and eco-technological advances. To this end, a decade ago, BONUS, the Joint Baltic Sea Research and Development Program, was, is it actually changing the slide?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, so sorry, I will do this. Now, so to this end, a decade ago, BONUS, the Joint Baltic Sea Research and Development Program, was established by the co-decision of the EU's highest level, the European Parliament and the Council. And all 8 Baltic Sea coastal member states, which are BONUS members, and Russia through bilateral agreements, were giving the mandate for efforts to integrate the Baltic Sea system research into a durable, cooperative, interdisciplinary and focused transnational program in support of region's sustainable development. Then to hop closer to this day, recent independent EU evaluations state that BONUS has been extremely successful in contributing to a wide range of EU policy objectives. And on the EU level, BONUS has shown how it is possible to sustainably unlock the potential of the seas, to create jobs, welfare, stability and security for local populations. BONUS is often credited as a forerunner of sea-based R&I border cooperation in the EU, cross-border cooperation. At global level, as was noted in last week's BONUS forum by Don Bosch from the Maryland University, USA, BONUS has had an influence on coastal seas research on a far greater scale, even on people who have no idea that BONUS exists, but have been impressed and motivated by the world-class collaborative research it has supported. In particular, transboundary collaboration, science that is not only inspired by its uses, but responsive to them, transdisciplinary approaches, commitment to excellence in R&I, and ensuring the synthesis of knowledge were all noted. In addition, critical peer review, also as evidenced in BONUS, is a key step in ensuring that the science findings communicated are robust and correctly interpreted. The role of a competent review grows particularly important in our age of social communication and proponents of alternative truth. Also, the BONUS impact on scientific excellence and dissemination was studied and published in Environmental Science and Policy Journal mid through the BONUS implementation. This shows that BONUS-funded Baltic Sea core papers on average had higher citation rates and were published in journals with higher journal impact factors than non-BONUS-funded Baltic Sea core papers. The study also clearly indicates that Baltic Sea science in general and BONUS-funded research in particular has a high impact on marine science in general. The second assessment in the same study published shows that the practical use of BONUS-generated knowledge for stakeholders. The BONUS program has had a strong positive impact on application of science to policy development and on the involvement of different actors. In other words, BONUS has been responsible for wide-ranging improvements, such as the extent to which science-based thinking and argument is used in policymaking. The reality is that in today's society, policy informing science and science informing policy is paramount. Communications has certainly played a key role in realizing the potential of this systematic sea basin-wide R&I effort. In fact, communication has been embedded in the core of BONUS since the beginning of the program at both projects and program level. BONUS has funded a total of 48 R&I projects and 60 more from the earlier BONUS Plus phase, involving over 120 top universities in the region and further afield many more. The backbone of BONUS, the strategic research agenda, co-created and regularly updated with the knowledge end users, states that dedicated communications plans addressing the wide area of dissemination, project results uptake, and stakeholder engagement, including end users, is required to be planned and integrated to each bonus project from the very beginning of the project cycle. Furthermore, the key end users of the research results are involved already in the planning phase of the project proposal, and given the policy-oriented nature of bonus, it has been essential that projects and end users communicate with each other throughout the program. During the project's implementation, the key stakeholders are involved as members of the project advisory board or steering committee, or even as project participants. The thorough consideration of communication elements in projects has been possible by the strong commitment of realizing the potential of communication also at the highest program level. Based on its communication strategy, bonus seeks and seizes opportunities to enhance scientific knowledge and its uses across policy and socio-economic landscape. Its role is to discuss planning, outcomes, and emerging research needs from a decision-making perspective. The forum has facilitated and advanced the pan-Baltic integration of research, including the joint use of planning of infrastructure capacities, assisted in highlighting research needs, advanced the effective utilization of research results, and facilitated the integration of research funding. Delightful has been the increase of policy sector presence in bonus forums and other stakeholder events, nearing in recent times half of the participants, as was evidenced again last week during bonus forum. An example of directly establishing and maintaining dialogues with key stakeholders has paid dividends with the key environmental policy vehicle in the Baltic Sea, the Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission, HELCOM, which has been strongly involved in shaping and updating the strategic agenda of bonus, and vice versa. Bonus projects researchers have contributed vital knowledge for developing and implementing the Baltic Sea Action Plan. This is rather unique science policy tandem, as noted by the Executive Secretary of HELCOM, Rüdiger Strempel. Based on bonus experience, noteworthy also is that while it is clear that we need intermediators between science and policy to convey well-targeted messages in new and inventive ways and means, we also need to have faith in very communication-savvy new generation of scientists and innovators that can truly convey their messages. And this picture actually here is very much to the point of this very point. So this must be encouraged. Then there is a role to play for us professional communicators in making headways and providing opportunities for all this to flourish. So to my mind, it is not a matter of an either or approach, but both or all, if you like. People take in messages differently, and broader-minded we can remain in providing multiple ways of accessing new knowledge, the better. Finally, I would like to note especially the Bonus Young Scientist Club and its training activities, which has worked particularly well. With modest funding, an entire series of workshops on transferable skills focusing to a large extent on communicating one's science has been held over the years. These gatherings, often linked with key regional scientific conferences, have received positive feedback and prompted such comments from the young scientist as, "I realize how much more I can get out of doing science by being able to communicate its relevance to others." Most recently, last year, we were at the Baltic Sea Science Congress in Stockholm University and hosted the 7th Bonus Young Scientist Club training session on science communication to learn the Compass message box technique with Nancy Barron, Director of Science Outreach Compass. And Nancy was presenting actually also already in Porto at the very first CommOCEAN, and has published a brilliant book an escape from the ivory tower for scientists wanting to communicate better their science. And we had some top journalists as coaches for young scientists, hands-on practice on how to confidently communicate one's research. So how this was made possible was that we ended up planning and running a full module of science media policy interactions with Compass in Stockholm. Having been the organization introducing society in the first place into these Baltic Sea congresses years earlier, it was great to be able to plan for the first time an innovative opening plenary session of the Congress, where Nancy was joined by a group of researchers and journalists on stage for a fast-paced mock press conference. Tell me more. What does society really want to know about the changes in the Baltic and why it matters? A deputy news editor of Science and a Pulitzer Prize-winning independent reporter were joined by leading national Baltic Sea reporters who all probed the scientists about their 3-minute pitches and explained which had and why raised their interest as journalists. And of course, there were surprises on what got picked. So, with a sliver of examples I've noted here, I tried to open some angles and considerations why an approach taken by a macro-regional research and innovation effort such as BONUS could be and has been a strong vehicle that can also nest far more strategic and impactful communication approach as opposed to if it would not have existed. Also, when acting at regional sea basin level, there are many things that may be achieved that could not on national because it's too small or on a larger scale because it is too big. So now BONUS is approaching its completion. In its wake, the new chapter is emerging. The scale up of BONUS to a joint Northern European Regional Seas Research and Innovation Programme as is planned in the Baltic and North Sea Coordination and Support Action. This initiative is associated also to even larger pan-European Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Partnership for climate neutral, sustainable and productive blue economy. In BONUS CSA, a full work package is actually dedicated to communications and stakeholder engagement, similarly to BONUS. And a full set of so-called impact enablers are ensuring that the agenda of open data, open science, citizen science, ocean literacy will all be carefully considered, the future framework so permitting. This is a good place for me to end, as I know that Angela, after me, will very much address some of the above topics, such as the EU for Ocean Initiative on Ocean Literacy, which we certainly want to be part of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maija. So do we have Angela with us? Ready to share the screen and the presentation? Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. I think that somebody else still has their screen share on, so that's...
Maija, could you please stop sharing?
Sorry. Yes.
I just did it, so maybe try again.
Right.
Okay, good.
Okay. So now let's see. I hope that...
So once again, this is Angela Schultz-Zehden, managing director of the SUBMARINER network. So the floor is yours for 15 minutes, and then we'll discuss the issues.
Thank you, Timon. Can you just indicate whether everybody of you can see my screen?
I can.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yeah, good morning and welcome to everybody. My name is Angela Schultz-Zehden. I'm the managing director of the SUBMARINER network. SUBMARINER is actually really an acronym. It's not about it's not only about promoting submarines in the Baltic Sea region. It's actually standing for promoting sustainable and innovative uses of marine resources, not only Baltic marine resources, but it's the platform of actors across the Baltic Sea region who want to promote this. And ocean literacy is, of course, at the very heart of what Submariner has been trying to promote over the past 10 years. And that's why we are ever so pleased that the initiative came also from the European Commission to launch the so-called EU for Ocean Coalition, which is basically also the European contribution to the UN Decade of Science and the ocean literacy element in the UN Decade. Before I go into the details to explain to you what this EU for Ocean Coalition is, and especially want to promote that all of you, or at least some of you, will be inspired to join this coalition and get actively involved yourself, let me say a few words on Submariner. So basically, who are we? We started 10 years ago with an idea coming very much from maritime spatial planning, looking into, because that's about the future. And the question we raised was, what will be this future and what kind of new and innovative uses may we have to plan for in the Baltic Sea region? And basically what we did was a first assessment. We then developed a roadmap, and also with programs like BONUS, having them in mind, and various other networks across the Baltic Sea region, we nevertheless discovered that there is not the network there yet, which is about promoting these sustainable uses. And that was sort of the birth of Submariner. And obviously here you see what the challenges are. We are all commonly dealing with across the whole globe, as well as then the Baltic Sea in particular, and which we translate, however, and that's, I think, ever so important also in ocean literacy, in terms of positive messages that, we are sort of, thinking more, we have more knowledge, we have more technology innovations, which are sort of, helping us to overcome these challenges. And this was sort of the birth of Submariner. And here you see, basically that this is really a network, very much also, with the emphasis on ocean literacy, combining research, authorities, as well as businesses. And here you see sort of the topics, but since this is not about Submariner, it's about ocean literacy, only to highlight that, ocean literacy was always at the very heart of our activities. So what is the EU for Ocean Coalition? It's about ocean science communication, which is very much linked to the idea of ocean literacy. And basically, it's about the term ocean literacy is really, in a nutshell, about the awareness of our impact on the ocean, as well as understanding the ocean's impacts on us. I think it's very important to stress that ocean literacy is therefore also not only about getting communities involved from coastal regions. I come from the country Germany, where most of sort of the activities are actually taking place in the south. And the blue is everywhere. So basically, we actually get the energy from the ocean is traveling down to the south, as well as sort of then the technology is traveling back from the south to the ocean. So we are all connected, and this connection is important, that ocean literacy is really about understanding our role, our relationship with the ocean, our impact on the ocean, even if we are far away from the ocean. So this is actually also at the key and the key messages of the EU for Ocean Coalition, that ocean science communication and ocean literacy is really closely linked. And these 3 key messages came out of the EU for Ocean Coalition launch event, which took place this September. Basically, it's really, yes, it's about sort of natural science, it's about oceanographers, it's about marine biology, but it's really also a very interdisciplinary work. It's the exchange between scientists as sort of the primary researchers, but also involving the educational professionals, the experts on marketing and campaigning, public authorities, NGOs, and many more. And we have to take their messages on board as well, in view of, and what was now just also described, working with journalists in order to understand what kind of messages should we transport and how should we transport them. So it's actually not only about enhanced knowledge, it's really also very much about creating an emotional connection. We do not change our behavior by more knowledge and our attitudes. It's more about sort of, really getting an emotional connection. This is how we can drive change also among children, also among those who are not so closely connected to the science of it. And the last point I have already raised, that we should not make the mistake that we suddenly sort of issue that it's about blue science only. It's very much about showing the connection between land and sea. Everybody of us has a role to play with the sea and vice versa. So actually, even though the EU for Ocean Coalition was launched by the Commission and is also initially financed by the Commission, it's at the same time very much a bottom-up initiative. It's a bottom-up approach, and it's about creating and bringing those communities together which are already active in ocean literacy, at the same time bringing those together who want to become active and therefore already sort of, step on the knowledge generated by those who have already activities on board in relation to ocean literacy. And essentially it's working across 3 different communities which are at the same time closely connected. It's the Youth for Ocean Forum, which is really bringing together the young people, and we have already more than 50 participants now, ranging between 16 and 30 years old. Then it's about the network of European Blue Schools. So those where we have teachers who are really bringing the blue into school education. And then it's the EU for Ocean platform, which is bringing together all those who want to be active in ocean literacy. And here, not only public authorities or scientists, but actually also the business community, who are really increasingly interested to get involved in the ocean literacy initiative. So these are the 3 different groups. And what are sort of the target themes we are talking about? One is about food from the ocean, healthy food from the ocean. What kind of food can we take, even if we know the issue of overfishing, to clarify what kind of food is healthy, and just, as a highlight, for instance, the increasing role of low trophic aquaculture. It's about a clean and healthy ocean, so very much also about, in the Baltic Sea, about eutrophication, but also about marine litter. And then it's about climate and the ocean, and what kind of role does the ocean play in terms of climate mitigation. It is really about the EU for Ocean Coalition. So basically it's of course a European-wide initiative and network. But at the same time, as we have it with macro-regional strategies, it's important that we also take a sea basin approach. This brings us sort of, closer to local communities. It's, also after COVID, it's also about sort of bringing, really connecting people around a sea. And here we very often sort of see sort of the Baltic Sea as a highlight in view of cooperation. But of course, also there are more and more and increasing networks established in the Atlantic, in the Mediterranean, and also across the Arctic Ocean. And it's also about then dealing with the specific challenges in these given sea areas. And here just an example. As I said, it's about a bottom-up approach. So basically looking into who is already active in ocean literacy, and to connect those in order to, bring more ocean literacy activities across. And here just sort of an example of what is going on in the Baltic. So for instance, we have Havhurst, which is an initiative, an NGO around the Denmark, which is really sort of, having marine gardens established where people take care of their own marine garden and therefore get closer to seaweed, to algae, to mussels, so to grow their own garden and therefore get, more connected to it. But it's also a Swedish initiative called Ocean Blues, which is very much sort of looking into the issue of that, having seen these challenges we are facing, that this is really something also an issue for the young people as well as, the normal citizen, where you can actually get almost depressed about, the type of challenges we are facing. And this is about sort of showcasing that science is really working to counteract these challenges and to create positive answers. That's very important. And of course, also stimulating, the young people to get into this area of work, and that this is an exciting journey you can take also as a job. And last but not least, the Plastic Piraten, which is again working with schools, and where again children are actually working on, beach cleaning activities. So in terms of the Baltic Working Group, we have, for instance, set ourselves first kind of networking activities, that we really sort of get a library of what is sort of, the different material we have already at hand for ocean literacy, to create a close exchange between the education centers and the researchers, as well as the Blue School initiatives, very much being a subgroup of, then of course the Blue School network in the EU for Ocean Coalition. And then also to think about how can we have targeted outreach to consumers to change their attitudes. So with that, I would like to inspire you to really get involved yourself. And how can you join? Very easy. You apply online. There's a short approval process. Don't worry about it. And then you will actually become an EU for Ocean member, and thereby sort of be part of that community. And here, I hope that you can take them now in your, note them down. Here are all these different links on how you can get closer to the EU for Ocean Coalition. There is planned for 2021, hopefully not virtual, regional conferences across each sea basin to really bring the different communities together in order then to sort of reach and lead also to a European-wide conference. But please not to see it as a one-off. This is an ongoing process. And here you can then also get your points of contacts. We have Angel here also moderating our group, and here you see also our Baltic contact, as well as then of course the contacts, the specific contacts for the various sea basins. And by that, I would like to say thank you for listening, and hope to see and meet you again in the EU for Ocean.
Thank you very much, Angela. So we have completed both talks now. Thank you very much for this interesting and inspiring stories. If you don't mind, I would like to ask the first question, and the question would be to both of you. We're talking about the Baltic. Why bother? Why should European taxpayers pay attention and share their money with us at the Baltic? Why is it an important place, region, sea, or is it? Maybe Angela, you could start, and then Maija.
Well, I think yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's more special than any other European sea, of course, but it is special to us here. First of all, it's really connecting different nations, countries, and it's the connecting point. We see this very often, and of course it has, you saw that we of course also deal, for instance, with marine cultural heritage, and not only with sort of fish aquaculture, etc., which is an important connecting point because it really shows sort of the history, the long history of the Baltic Sea as being the connecting point between the different nations. And we've also, and what is also interesting is that right now with Russia, we have one country which is not in the EU, but which is very closely connected to the Baltic Sea region and is therefore also, of course, a very important partner in HELCOM, but also other initiatives. And here again, the Baltic Sea is sort of the connecting point. So I think that we all have very close attachments to it, and that we have to do our utmost to actually really deal with the pollution in the Baltic Sea region. I'm not happy that we still have to say that the Baltic Sea is still one of the most polluted seas, not only in Europe, and that there is still a long way to go to actually sort of counteract this. But I think that we see good examples of what can be done, and I want to counteract the ocean blues, because I think that we have seen tremendous efforts and also results already. But of course, and it takes time to counteract it. That's why we also, for instance, deal with issues to actually get the nutrients which are already there in the Baltic Sea, to get them out, while at the same time, of course, preventing from marine litter or nutrients to come in further.
Okay. Thank you very much. Maija, would you like to?
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very good question, I think, and many answers to this as well. And I totally agree with many of the points Angela already made, but to add to those, there are so many reasons. If I start from the positives, obviously there are lots of examples and models, for instance, in the R&I, research and innovation sector, that we can be proud of, and forerunners possibly on a European scale that can be used and is being used, for instance, now in this Baltic and North Sea coordination and support action, to use the bonus model, for instance, and widen it out to other seas and so on. And there are other examples, of course, not only bonus, but there are many good examples within the region. But for instance, in a bit less sort of a positive note, we of course have to acknowledge the fact that our sea is such that it's used very much as a model also in a negative way. So we are a bit of a forerunner in terms of what is going to happen on other coastal seas is happening here in the Baltic Sea already. So basically climate change and sort of warming, global warming and such things have been recorded, biodiversity loss and such, in, for instance, in a study of over, I don't know how many institutions, but for sure over 7 projects in Bonus, and there was this very good article published about Baltic Sea as time machine. And basically what it sort of covers is that what are the things that are happening here will happen elsewhere. So not so positive for us as Baltic Sea people, but obviously it's something for everyone to take note of. And this type of intelligence and support of our region in terms of finding out these sort of things that work for everyone, not in only European scale, but globally, is something that we have to sort of keep on the momentum going. And I think that the investments from the Europe to the Baltic Sea are crucially and vitally important for these very particular reasons. Just to name a couple of examples, I could go on for quite a while, but I don't know how much this is addressing the communication side. So if we then want to think about communication, I think that we again have a very active, very good network of communicators, and we have this sort of a more organic, if you like, networks that are very much contributing to the dialogues of Europe and like Angela's work or Submariner's coordination role with all this ocean literacy and everything. It's sort of like we find these and we make most of it. And I do think that it is one of the regions which has to be involved in this whole development, making the progress on the European and global scale. So acting as a model, very much in the core, I would say, but also the other lessons learned and the advances made in our region should not go unnoticed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's probably the best answers we could get on that. We have one comment. It is suggested that every science journal on earth sciences should contain a chapter or topic on ocean literacy, so as to raise public awareness about ocean sciences. That came in the chat. So I think this is a very positive information for all of us. And it's good to know. Now, we have a number of questions. The first question is probably to Angela. Is EU4Ocean open to all?
Yes, it is open really to all. There is, the approval, which I had sort of indicated, that's mainly just to avoid that. Yeah, I mean, what is going on with websites, etc. So it's really just more a formal approval, but it's definitely an open initiative. That's the whole point of it, to give a short answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have two questions that basically connect from Tiago. Good morning, Tiago. Ocean literacy targeting the younger generations is obviously very much needed. However, what about grown-ups? How can we effectively involve those who are older, have jobs, buy stuff, vote, run companies, make political decisions, etc.? And Katrin Kepke, good morning, Katrin, added to that. Excellent question, Tiago, because we are now seeing a lot that the younger people are way more knowledgeable than their parents. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, here I would like to comment because this is very much what we are working on. Of course, on one hand, children or the younger generation are also the axis to really drive change among sort of the older generation. I myself, I'm a mother of 4, so I buy what my kids are telling me to buy, and they tell me, they tell me all kinds of what companies I should not sort of buy, etc. So I don't have to watch YouTube. They will do it for myself. But at the same time, we are, for instance, now working a lot, we are working on a very big initiative, really involving companies, this is not name dropping, but I mean, and not advertisement, but nevertheless, just to give you a dimension, with Lidl, with IKEA, with Big Shots, Leroy, etc. All of whom are really interested, and not really only about selling more, but actually really sort of, education, and also changing the products, and to actually take their own initiative now, not waiting for sort of upper level new labeling to come, but actually to take their own initiative. And actually also, again, technology drive is interesting here, that, we are more and more working with apps, which are, giving individualized advice on what kind of food to buy, also for elderly, for specific profiles, etc. So this is kicking off. And so basically we are, of course, working also with specific groups. At the same time, I think one should not underestimate the role of really children, I'm talking about primary school even, on changing habits also of older. So it's an interesting process.
Yeah, can I just add one thing to that? I totally agree with all that, and Angela is certainly the expert here on this particular area. But from my perspective, coming from this more policy-oriented world of communication and marine communication, I really feel like what is important and needs to be in the core when we ride these waves, and now we are, and I'm not saying this in any negative way, that we are riding now the ocean literacy wave, and we've had quite a few different waves at different times, but we need to be clear where the effort is added value from different perspectives. So for instance, what we will be, and we will be part of this meeting that SUBMARINER is now organizing on the 8th of December to discuss exactly these points, that what would be the entry points, as I call them? What are the angles that this type of setup and structure that, for instance, we represent can benefit the movement as such and add value, and also be justified that it sort of pays dividends to the program, if you like, on the other hand. And I think this kind of a principle is very much what everyone needs to think about, because of course it's nice to do nice things, but we also, and we want to build as you were talking about, connecting on the emotional level and all this, and this is already value on its own, of course, but then there has to be also that sort of a bit more what would I say, like a business-like thinking, that it really adds value to all those different people and players and instances that are involved in the movement. So this is what we look forward to identifying and finding out. So it's not necessarily that everybody in all the projects funded could, for instance, be part of it. And going back to the point made about ocean literacy should be in every publication that Earth Sciences put out, I'm not so sure. It depends. I think there are places, and if you are more strategic about it and not overuse it, you might be more impactful as well. So just one kind of angle to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Angela?
Just a very small point also here. I think that in terms of ocean literacy, it's also important to note that, yes, I mean, so it has to come from the science. So I'm very happy if, it makes our life easier if sort of scientists always sort of try to focus at the very end, what are the key points? What is, really just the essence in short, short graphs, in short words. But to acknowledge that this is a science, so it's something where you need professionalism in itself. How to communicate, what to communicate, not to overwhelm with knowledge, but to really create, just sort of the priorities. And this is not only for children, this is actually, and here I'm very much with Maija, this is also, by the way, for politicians. So this is, this is a task in itself. And by the way, it also needs resources. It's not a hobby. It's not something which just comes along and is sort of done at the end, of our, we sort of do a little bit, here and there. That's not the point. It's a long-term effort.
Okay, thank you. Would you have some suggestions for golden rules about how to translate science, communicate science to, let's say, general public at this point, just so that we have all the groups of people involved? Any golden rules? Maija, you had these events during the Baltic Congress. So do you have any good tips for all of us?
Well, I think there were some points made in yesterday's plenary discussions that really hit the mark for me. And I think one golden rule for sure is that always look from outside in angle. Don't think about what you want to put out, but what they want to hear from us, whoever the target audience or whoever it is that we are communicating to. And I think sometimes we lose the sight of this. And this is really a tricky situation when this happens, because people are there for different reasons and taking in messages in different ways with different tools and ways. So it doesn't matter how brilliant things we develop if we develop them from our perspective. So to me, the one golden rule is that think from outside in. I always call it like that. Hope it makes sense. And another one is that as communicators, for instance, I work alone. This is why I first congratulated the CommOCEAN organizers for getting this platform and sharing some peer support, which I always found I was privileged to be invited to some of the communication boards meetings earlier on. I think Jan Seis from Bliss was chairing at the time, and I really enjoyed this for the peer support and that sort of thing. So this is a bit sidetracking. So I'm working alone, and I bet there are many there in the audience that work alone or in very small little groups of communicators. And so I think it was actually said in Porto by one of the speakers there from National Geography magazine, when the similar question was asked, and I couldn't agree more, is that think wisely what your resources will allow you to do. Don't try to do all the social media and do the videos and tweet and whatever, but think strategically and do those things that you do well. So I think by doing or using these two guiding stars, if you like, I think a lot of frustrations could certainly be avoided in the process, and we might get a bit more impactful results. Would that answer your question to some extent?
Yes,
at least?
very much, very much. Yes, Angela?
Yeah, so just to also add on this. So again, I have it easy because I have immediate feedback if my main stakeholders at dinner do not understand what I'm talking about, and you have to be very fast and quick in order to explain it, then, well, message is lost. Secondly, however, not only on personal level, I think we had always think visual. I mean, visual says more than 1,000 words, we know this. And actually not only in terms of maps, we had most success when, and Maija showed it, this children book, when you work really with jokes. You work with professionals who very often, I'm always fascinated who can capture an issue in a very intelligent one picture. And this is really then traveling a lot. We did it with maritime spatial planning, and it's still, we did it in 2012, and these cartoons are still in use. Don't be afraid to sort of make short messages at the same time. Always, of course, make sure that you can underline it for those who are more interested with really sort of, you know, the knowledge, etc. But I see it very often in our work with scientists that they are afraid sometimes to come up with very clear messages because, you know, I mean, this is our world to sort of say, well, we don't know, or we should sort of be a bit careful. I think that's correct. We are, you know, in times of fake news, we have to be very careful. But at the same time, we have to make messages, and we have to then also show, okay, not everything is known, but not being lost in all the details.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have one last question. Is there any platform place that EU has ocean literacy resources and information gathered, so that it will be sort of in a compact way? Would that be the EU for Ocean Coalition, for example?
Well, Timon, you know, we are both involved. I think that yes, it's the Maritime Forum, and you can access it. I think that at the current stage, because we are quite still in early stage, that this will be up to the thematic working groups. From the sea basin point of view, I can only invite once more, of course, go to Bonus, but also, you know, visit the SUBMARINER site, because we will have this ocean literacy library with focus on what we gather around the Baltic Sea region, really as a download, as sort of inspiration for others also to use, so that you do not have to reinvent the wheel yourself.
Right.
But it's an ongoing exercise. We still have a lot to do here. And again, that's why I'm very grateful that you invited us here to this meeting, that we can, it's a joint effort. So that's also something, as the last point, if people would sort of more proactively then always also, you know, contribute their material, just short material, etc. The easier it gets to create this ongoing, you know, knowledge transfer.
Okay, thank you very much. I can also recommend the Gdynia Aquarium. They have an ocean literacy site, and then we cooperate with them, and I can certainly recommend going there and getting the resources. Maija, would you like to add something at the end? We're just 1 minute before closing the session, so would you like to conclude something, both of you?
Well, of course, yes. Thank you again for inviting me. I think it's important matters that we had opportunity to raise here today. And it was really a privilege to have this sort of a Baltic Sea perspective featured in this plenary session. I suppose from my perspective, and this is very much going to the sort of these impact enablers that I mentioned at the end of my presentation, and ocean literacy being one. I think that the future is really in this type of more open data, more open science, citizen science, ocean literacy. This is really important thing that we are certainly taking seriously and want to be part of. So I think it's a good combination to have this type of a macro-regional program and ocean literacy as a plenary sort of food for thought for the day kind of approach. And thank you for that. I suppose I will finish there. If we only had 1 minute, I spent it already.
Thank you very much. Yes, Angela?
I would also like to thank you, and I would like to sort of just reach out to the 107 participants here and listeners, and I would like to, I hope that we have jointly been able to inspire you to actually also walk across and get to know the departments which are working more on the creative scale, the IT people, the graphic designers, the didactic people, you know, have also inter-universital, inter-research collaboration. And my last hope will be that actually ocean literacy, to get your science across, will also be gratified in, you know, your research world. That, you know, you will actually get sort of points for not only doing excellent research, but also to sort of, you know, communicate that well. I think that's so important, that this is also, I know that your career paths are sort of then evaluated in a different way. And I think that this would be great and would be a great advancement if, you know, cross-sectoral work, interdisciplinary work, and actually sort of, you know, good communication of your results, not only to the business, but also to the citizen, would actually be really, you know, also enter the university graduation system. So that was my last pledge.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maija. Thank you, Angela. We can close the session now.